All right. Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive.
Yeah.
This time,
Okay.
we're going to be looking at U.S. law and rights.
Right.
And specifically, we're going to be kind of digging into this book,
Yeah.
The Legal Strategist,
I'm excited.
which you were kind enough to provide to me.
Absolutely.
And we're going to be pulling out, I think, some really important concepts that everyone listening should know.
Definitely.
And so I think, hopefully, by the end of this deep dive, everybody will feel a little bit more empowered
Yes.
to navigate their own,
Legal limits.
landscape. Exactly.
Exactly.
And, you hear about rights all the time.
All the time.
And I think it's one of those things that you hear about it so much that you almost like tune it out.
Yeah. You kind of take it for granted.
You take it for granted.
Yeah.
But like when you really break it down,
Yeah.
it's actually
It's so important.
really important.
Because it's not just about like staying out of trouble or anything. It's like, really the foundation of how our society functions.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, let's get into it then.
Okay.
We have to start, I think, with the First Amendment.
The big one.
The big one.
Yeah.
I feel like everybody kind of knows,
The basics.
basics of it.
Freedom of speech. Freedom of religion.
Right. Freedom of the press.
Assembly right.
Petition.
Petition government.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, like, what was something that like surprised you about the First Amendment when we were kind of like looking through this?
It's funny because we think of the First Amendment as like this shield,
Right.
this like unyielding, right?
Yeah.
But what the book pointed out is that it does have its limits.
Okay.
And one of those is, speech inciting violence is not protected. So that's always kind of a fascinating line because it's like, where's the line between protecting free speech, but also like keeping everybody safe?
Right. And I think that's like, especially in today's world.
Oh, yeah.
With social media and everything, it's like
It's a whole.
that line gets really blurry.
Yeah, it's a whole different ballgame.
Right. Okay, so moving on to the Fourth Amendment.
All right.
This one I've always been a little bit hazy on.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, does this really mean that, like, a police officer can't search my car without a warrant?
That's the general idea.
Okay.
The Fourth Amendment is all about protecting you from unreasonable searches and seizures. So generally, they need a warrant. They would a warrant based on probable cause, or there has to be some kind of very specific exception, like if they think evidence is about to be destroyed or something.
So like those dramatic scenes you always see on TV,
right?
Where the cops like burst in the door without a warrant.
Yeah.
That's not really legal.
That's TV.
Okay.
In reality, that would get thrown out, of course.
So it's really about like protecting people's privacy.
It is. It's meant to protect your privacy and your property. And, the book even talked about how it's evolving to cover digital privacy as well.
So like our phones and our computers and stuff.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of protecting yourself.
Yes.
Let's talk about the Fifth Amendment.
All right.
Which is all about the right to remain silent to avoid self-incrimination.
Exactly. I plead the Fifth.
Right.
Like that's where that comes from, is the Fifth Amendment. You can't be forced to testify against yourself.
Okay. So like if you're ever arrested, you can just stay silent.
You can stay silent.
And ask for a lawyer.
You should ask for a lawyer.
Okay.
Yeah, and the book really emphasized like how important that is.
Oh.
Because you might think, I have nothing to hide.
Right.
But even innocent statements can be twisted or misinterpreted in a legal setting.
Right.
So it's really about making sure you have legal counsel.
Yeah.
And that you're protected.
Yeah, it's like better safe than sorry.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so then we have the Sixth Amendment.
Okay, the Sixth Amendment.
This is the right to a fair trial.
The right to a fair trial.
So this one covers like
so many things.
A lot.
A speedy and public trial.
Right.
The right to an attorney.
Right.
The right to an impartial jury.
Right. And so like the right to an attorney, does that mean like no matter what, you have a right to an attorney?
Yes. Everyone, regardless of their income, gets legal representation.
So that's where like public defenders come in.
Exactly. If you can't afford a private attorney, the government has to provide you with one.
Okay. So that everyone has like a fighting chance.
It's a crucial part of a fair trial.
Yeah. Okay. And then finally, we have the Civil Rights Act of 1964.
A big one.
A really big one.
Yeah.
Which prohibits discrimination. based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin.
Exactly. It was such a landmark piece of legislation.
Yeah.
And the legal strategist actually gave a really good example.
Okay.
Imagine an employer refusing to hire someone simply because of their race. Like, that would be a blatant violation of the Civil Rights Act.
Right. And I think it's amazing how, like, this law from,
Yeah.
the 60s is still so relevant today.
Oh, it's incredibly relevant.
Yeah.
And you can see how it continues to shape our society.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that's all the time we have today.
Okay.
But I think we covered, like, some really important stuff.
We covered a lot.
Yeah, and hopefully everybody listening feels like a little bit more
It would
like
our
deal with their own
legal landscape.
Yeah.
Exactly. And remember, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Like, the legal strategist goes into so much more detail if you want to. Keep learning.
Yeah, and
Knowledge is power
knowledge is power.
when it comes to your rights.
Yeah, we highly encourage everyone
Yeah.
to go check it out.
Yes.
And if this sparked any questions, or if there's anything that we talked about that you want more info on, drop us a comment.
Yeah, we'd love to
Yeah.
hear from you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
Thanks, everyone.
We'll see you next time.
See you later.